Yo, we're here. We're back. It's always the worst. I'm Michael, and I hate doing intros.
Yeah.
With me, as always, is
Chris, hello. Hello, guys.
hello. We've done this before.
Yeah.
Why is this awkward?
It's because I'm
It's
not
shouldn't.
hosting it. It's like I've
Yeah,
spent 6 months getting to the point of just being decent enough that I don't seem awkward when I host.
yeah. And I've like only just come back, so I'm like, what's words?
Yes.
What are words do?
So you decided to bring up an interesting topic to start today off before we dive into our Simpsons episode. Would you
I
like to
did.
let everyone know what that is?
So today's topic for the start of the stream is separating art from artist. So this actually ties into the start of season 3 of The Simpsons. So there was a huge uproar for some reason because people love to get uppity um, about the start of season 3. Episode 1 is Start Craving Dad.
Yes.
This episode notably features Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Michael Jackson playing a big white guy who thinks he is Michael Jackson, but he's obviously voiced by Michael Jackson, which is,
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, so the point of separating art from artist comes from that, and it's obviously with all that's gone on with Michael Jackson, we've seen that there's lots of other stuff with other directors, actors, actresses, all that kind of stuff. There's always drama in the background. Um, and I was sort of wondering, what's your take on separating art from artist? Like, what extent do you take it, and
That
you know,
this
whatever.
this is where it gets strange because Michael Jackson, music wise, there is no backlash whatsoever. He's still seen as one of the greatest musicians of our generation, of our
Mm-hmm.
parents' generation. Like he kind of went across both, and because I thought that his music wasn't on Spotify, I genuinely thought that
Mm-hmm.
after everything came out, they got his stuff taken, but his stuff's still there. So
Mm-hmm.
the general public are basically okay with it because sadly he's dead, and that kind of, not saying it's right, but it kind of washes all the stuff away because you can't call him on it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, people are happy to let it go, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's right or wrong. Is it beating a dead horse types thing?
Yeah.
But with
But
this
then, where
episode,
do you?
I think that's a bit odd because the episode isn't about Michael Jackson
No.
at all. It's not about him. He doesn't even sing the song in it. The song's
No.
actually sung by someone else. So
Mm-hmm.
you could easily just take him off the credits.
Yeah. But obviously, a lot of places, as soon as as soon as they either hear something or as soon as something comes back about a certain person, that studio or that group needs to immediately cut ties, understandably,
Yeah.
before they face a backlash as well. Something similar happened recently with Rooster Teeth,
Yes.
who worked with Vic Mignogna.
Yeah.
And then there was obviously a lot of stuff that came out about him. So they had to immediately cut ties with him. There's been lots of stuff going on since with Vic Mignogna. I don't know what the current stance is on him, but obviously they just said, look, we don't know if you're guilty, or I don't even think they said that, but they were just like, we can't even, if you're guilty or innocent, we just need to stop now. Um,
Yeah. So I think the line isn't a line. It's this really horrible grey area that there's not really
yeah,
a right and wrong answer to it because of the way the world's turned into cancel culture.
hmm
We are in a strange state of what's allowed to be on TV, what's not for the people
yeah,
behind. Because with that guy from Rooster Teeth, does that mean that everything that he's been in gets taken off television now?
yeah, and it's obviously like, how do you look upon the stuff that they've done beforehand?
Yeah.
So one of the big examples for me is Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
Obviously, has done some horrible, horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The Usual Suspects is a great movie, brilliant movie.
So is
But
Seven.
obviously, he features quite heavily, and Seven as well. Seven's amazing, but he features very heavily in both of those films.
Do you just not
Does
watch them?
his, yeah? Do you stop watching those films now? Like, what's your
See, I don't have a strong enough
Yeah.
stance on this because I don't know. It's one of the few things that my opinion on it is very much I really don't know. I think if
Yeah.
you feel strongly enough that you boycott them completely, then cool, it's your decision.
Yeah.
If you don't, then again it's your decision. But when it comes to movie executives and television people, they need to see where money's coming in, and keeping an
Yeah.
episode in that's not going to make them money anymore because it's associated with a horrible person and it's changes the landscape. I think
Yeah.
as sad as it is, we want to think that they're doing it out of a caring way. Realistically, as the bad press means they'll lose money, and that's
Yeah.
the sinister side of it. Because look at all the years that even through the Michael Jackson cases in the 90s, that episode never got
Yeah.
taken down then. Everything up to his death never got taken down.
No.
But now it's taken down because Simpsons are going through a hell of a bad backlash now with a lot of their
Yeah.
white actors portraying people of ethnic minorities. So I think they're just doing a blanket, like anything controversial in our show.
Yeah. I think what it was is the fact they got put on Disney Plus as well, which is such a huge platform.
And they're not going to take
A
it
lot
bad
of kids
publicity.
could have seen it and stuff
Yeah.
like no.
It's not happening. So
Yeah.
I think, because I don't think we have got the savvy to solve this very hard
Hell
issue.
no. It was just I just wanted sort of your
Yeah,
opinion
yeah.
on stuff like that. But
no, it's a great starting point now to dive into something fun.
yes.
This isn't a conversation that could go on for hours about this. So
Absolutely.
because of that, we're going to dive into what I've called episode 2 because I've done episode 1 is Start Raving Dad by Aston. But
Yes.
Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington.
Yes.
Would you like to take us through the synopsis of what Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington is?
So, Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington. Homer goes through his mail and thinks he's won $1 million, but it's obviously a scam. But he gets a free copy of Reading Digest, which he seems to just love and take interest in. They find an essay contest in it. Lisa enters it. She wins, and the family gets sent out to DC so she can take part in the finals.
Yes.
Lisa's obviously got this great sense of patriotism at first, thinking, "Oh, America is great. It's founded on all these morals and stuff like that. It's so good." But then she goes out looking for advice and sees what's gone on and sees that there's so many politicians that are so corrupt, and sees that the system is just not working.
Yes.
And she is open and honest and lets people know that there's a government person that's taking bribes and stuff. And yeah, it gets pretty fucking serious.
It's a nice start to the season. Like, if we're going to just Start Raving Dad is just not a part of the season anymore.
Out the
This
equation.
is a really cool start because it starts on a higher note of The Simpsons. It kind of touches on things that are a bit more serious. It's still got its funny parts to it, but it's not really a funny episode. It's more of a witty episode about how they portray like the fat cats and pigs eating money. But the bit that I loved, I freaking loved it, was Nelson's speech.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was just like, man, that is so today. And everybody's like, yeah, fuck yeah, if you're going to burn the flag and you burn your house, man, like, yeah. He's like, yep, that's how he got in. That is genuinely how he got in.
And undying levels of patriotism without thought.
I wouldn't even call that patriotism at that point.
That's extremism, probably.
Yeah, that is hitting a line where it's... Again, I just don't understand the association with the flag with Americans. Being from Scotland, I don't think anybody has an association with our flag. But again, we never done stuff like national anthems before. Not in that way, like the way they've got
No,
it.
I think it's because there's obviously the stars obviously representing the union of all the states.
Yeah.
I think the stripes represent something as well, but I can't remember. So their flag obviously has like a deeper meaning for a lot of them.
The funny thing with us is, if you got to see flags in Scotland, you don't see a Scottish flag. You see either a Republic of Ireland flag, a Northern Ireland flag, or a Great British flag. It's like nobody flags a Scotland flag. Like, mate,
Yeah,
what's going on?
I know.
It's bigging. That's a whole other conversation.
So this is, as you've said, this is a great episode. There's lots of obviously it delves into, this is Lisa becoming more rebellious again and starting to, break out of being this, this sheep in the herd. She's wanting to show everyone that she is different. She's wanting to stand out,
Yeah.
and stand against what's going bad in the world. But everyone's getting involvement as well. Obviously, Bart is still getting up to his little antics. Homer is showing us how much of an idiot he is.
Yeah.
And Marge is obviously being supportive the whole time as well. There's this season, man.
It's so far. This is good.
Immediately as it started, I was laughing.
Yeah.
This is the point where drama is taking a back seat in a limo, and comedy is right up the front driving the bitch.
Exactly. Just like, it was just Homer got to the bank with his check. And it's like,
yeah,
sir, it says void. This is not a check. And he's like, why would you give me $1 million if you're not going to give me
my bit was where the woman goes up and she's like, I think, the dad's been helping out. And she goes up and it's like, are you a professional writer? And he's like, no. It's just like, are you interested in politics? And he's like, are you interested in anything at all?
Can you touch your nose for me? And he's like, yeah.
Glorious.
So
brilliant
good.
comedy.
So good. Her rant, I wouldn't even call it a rant because it's not a rant. Her speech about how corrupt American politics is was brilliant, because I feel at that time in the 90s, people were still very big. The one thing I hated about this episode was the resolution. Because the resolution's like, the system actually works. The president even helped out. And it was fucking George Bush Sr. So like, I answer to 300 million people. They're my boy. Like, shut the fuck up. No. You did I'm pretty sure he was a part of like the first Iraq War. Like, it was him. Was it him? Desert Storm. I think I can't remember. It might have been before him, but he was definitely a part of some of the like 90s war and drug stuff. But anyway, they had all that and all these amazing politicians, which there are some good politicians. Let's be kind. There are some nice good ones out there that want to work for the people. But the fact is, that's not how that works. Everything that happened at the end of that was just felt like propaganda, and it made me feel dirty. I was like, ugh, yuck. Yeah. So I get why they had to. You can't have it with this little girl absolutely broken by what the political system actually is. Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot they could have gone into with this episode, and they could have, turned around at the end and just been like, Lisa, you've helped single-handedly take down this state's corrupt government. Here's a check for however many. Like, there's a lot they could have done. I'm reasonably happy with how it ended. It was a light note.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just because of the state of the world at the moment. It just highlights that.
Yeah, ahead of its time. Yes, very much ahead of its time.
Very much so. So
yeah.
After that, we get on to such a horrible episode. It was a good episode, but I fucking hate it because of Homer. I hate him in this.
There's so much of this that just leaves you with such a sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah, like before this,
and it's the whole. Go on, sorry.
Just gotta say,
carry on.
Before this, Homer was a lovable idiot who did wrong, but he wasn't meaning it. It was just like he tried to do what he thought was right, and he fucked it, and then he just got defensive. And this one, nope.
No, Homer is literally wishing failure on Ned.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason other than he just seems to think that Ned is better than him.
Ned's got more money. That is actually it. And we get an interesting fact. I never realised Ned was in the pharmaceutical business.
Yeah, he worked in the pharmaceutical business. And that was what he did before. It's good pub quiz knowledge.
Yeah, it's quite a good one because it does make sense of how he's got the money he's got. He worked in like quite a lucrative industry. Kind of weird for someone who's so out there Christian values the way he does to work for Big Pharma.
Yeah. We don't know that it was necessarily Big Pharma, but I guess he might have just got, roped into things and then he couldn't get out. He was stuck for a while. But yeah.
That kind of comfy job.
Very strange.
But So the way this goes is Ned asks Homer and all his friends and the whole Simpson family to a barbecue. And Homer's like, I'm not going to a stupid barbecue. Fuck Ned. He's an asshole. Look at him with all his stuff. And he gets drawn in by the smell of burgers. And it's just such a good scene of Bart eating a burger. And Homer how he's face out the window like a dog. And then he feeds the burger to the dog, I'm pretty sure. And he's like, and he runs over. And Ned announces he's going to open the Leftorium. This is when we get introduced to the Leftorium. And there's a wishbone. And Homer wins it, and he wishes failure on Ned. And it's the build-up to that really gets me of that failure that he wants, because he's like, hey, what could I get? I could get more chicken. Nah, that's not good enough. I could be president.
Yeah, I could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I could be the president who won the Super Bowl. And then it's like, oh, I could see Ned with no money. I could see Ned's business failing. And it's the way he gloats in the failure, because Ned's business does fail quite hard at first because it's a niche store. He's not done anything to promote it outside of telling his pals, and nobody knows it exists really, bar that it validates parking for free. Yeah, and it goes downhill really quick. It's like there's not a lot of funny in this episode, at least if I can remember rightly.
Not in the main storyline.
Because what's the other storyline going in this?
There are a couple sort of bits dropped in, sprinkled throughout it.
The karate class.
Yes. Wow. The touch of death.
Yeah, Bart's stuff was cool. I love Bart's commitment not to go to the class, where it's like, you're putting so much effort just not to be there, man. Like, that is pretty good.
Imagine if you'd put the effort in to go there. I loved Akira's advert for the karate gym, and it was just all the different people smashing blocks of stone with their head. Yeah,
it's like homemaker, then architect. It's so good. It's like
so good.
It's a shame because he really starts not being in the show very quickly now. Like, I don't think there's many more episodes with him as a prominent side character.
Akira, no, not really. He is like tertiary, at best.
Which is a shame because he's fun. He's so fun.
Yeah, he's good. We like Akira. I think later on he gets voiced by George. I don't know if it was earlier he got voiced by George Takei. I don't know if he comes back.
Unsure. I wouldn't know. I'd have to look that stuff up. But it was cool. It was cool to see Bart doing his lessons, and he gave them the art award, like, pay to read books. No.
Yeah.
He just walks off. And then he gets his ass kicked by the bullies.
I know, that's good. Is inevitable comeuppance.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was some good.
I like that version of Bart. That's the mischievous part that I like. That he's bad, but he's not. He's like, he's a bit of a bad guy.
And that's the good thing for this episode to teach was he was bad, and he didn't get rewarded for it. No,
he didn't.
He got punished for his attitude.
Yeah. And so did Homer, because Homer finally felt real guilt. And it was a shame because the moment he opened up to Ned was when Ned was going to need to lose his house. He was losing his house because of it. And he opened up about the fact that I did this to you. And Ned's like, this is just shows you how good a person Ned is. He's like, no, you tried to warn me that this was a fool's errand. I shouldn't have done it. And I'm like, Ned, no, don't. He's an asshole. This isn't your fault. He had plenty of opportunities to tell people that he knows. Partly, everybody Homer knows is left-handed. Like,
apparently
everyone, including Mr. Burns. And it was just his breakdown. I've been watching a lot of Catfish at the moment, and his breakdown made me think of Catfish episodes. I'm just like, I'm no buying this. No buying it. Yeah. Whatever you're selling, Homer, no. I like the fact he went out of his way to help him. But I'm like, this shouldn't... It's, again, like Catfish, this shouldn't been happening in the first place. Yeah, big plamp. And it killed me. I was like, oh, you bastard. Because it was just the height of pettiness. You nearly ruined a man's life out of sheer pettiness.
Yeah.
And that...
Homer's not reached his true idiocy yet at this point. He's getting there.
What it feels like now? Like hints of jerk Homer that comes way late in the seasons.
Yeah.
It's like there was sprinkles of that type of character from the get-go, because everybody said that, oh no, they copied Family Guy. But you're like, no, he was actually had that in him, but they only did it for episodes, which makes it work because it makes him, even though he's a dick in this, it makes him more of a well-rounded character because he has these amazing points where he's like a really good husband, a really good father who tries his best. Then he has like everybody. They days where you're like, oh, why was I like an absolute horrible person to these people for no reason really, outside of just being horrible. So yeah. So anybody says Family Guy was the start of Jerkoma, you're wrong. Simpsons did it first. They did it first.
Chris says so.
Yeah, Chris says.
That's our new segment. Chris says.
I just get a wee overlay comes up going,
So in the end, Homer tells everyone about the Leftorium, and apparently the entirety of Springfield goes there, and yeah, Ned's back in business.
Basically, Mr. Burns kind of funds his business.
Yeah, buys a car.
This makes. Do you know what's funny about the left-handed transmission in the car? Just buy it.
Yeah, we have those.
Yeah, just buy a European car, man. Yeah. I suppose import tax and whatnot, but we're getting into economics. That's smart. But yeah, I was just when he's like, yeah, you can't get a left-handed car. I'm like, yes, you can. Like that's what everybody else in this part of the world drives. You know. But yeah.
I don't know. And that's like because you can see some people in Britain driving right-handed cars, but obviously just on the correct side of the road.
Yeah. Which is the weirdest thing ever because I'm like, you're just going to crash.
Yeah.
Like, no. That is an accident waiting to happen. Mm-hmm. So all ends in a high note. Homer has a redemption. And again, redemption happens too quick. It doesn't set in quick enough for me. But I loved it when he phoned the guy. He's like, Homer Simpson's on the phone. And he's like, tell him I'm out. It's to help Ned Flanders. And the guy basically...
Ned Flanders?
He basically skips like 5 frames and goes from lying down to standing up. He's like, I'm here. If that's
Ned Flanders is in trouble.
If that's the case and he's that good at knowing Ned that way, he should have bloody known he was in trouble in the first place, arsehole.
Exactly. Why wasn't he helping?
And where was all those people who's at his barbecue? Like, didn't know none of them pass on that information? There's a bigger conspiracy here. Will you watch it again and see if we can see the Illuminati eye?
Yes.
It's all the stonecutters.
Anyway. Zoltan.
Bart.
So
the
we'll
murderer.
move swiftly. Yes, Bart the murderer.
Such a good episode. They do good, fellas.
Yes. So Bart starts up ready for the best day in the world and has the worst day in the world. He steps on a dinosaur. His room's a mess. He misses the bus to school and has to skateboard in the rain.
Homer steals his police badge from the cereal.
Homer steals. Yep.
Ooh,
How dare he?
How dare he? Indeed.
He doesn't have his permission slip for the field trip, so he can't go to the chocolate factory. And has to stay behind and lick envelopes. Which also, so as he writes the note to Skinner to say, "Can I go now?" he writes it with his left hand.
Do you know why they're all left-handed? Because Matt Groening's left-handed. Matt Groening, sorry. He's left-handed, so he's probably just drew most of these characters being left-handed from the get-go.
That's well. Also, Bart is him.
Yes.
Because obviously the Simpsons is meant to reflect him and his family. He's meant to be Bart.
Yes.
But he couldn't just call it Matt.
Yeah, because he already did Lisa and Maggie are his actual sisters. He's got a sister called Lisa and Maggie, and I don't know if the parents are the same names, but I know the sisters are.
I think so. The only one I think that was different was Bart.
Because
and the only reason he chose... Yeah, the only reason he chose the name Bart is because it's an anagram of Brat.
Yes.
Anyway, enough about whoever Matt Gray Man was. He's missed that. He ends up going home, or he skateboards away from school in the rain again, and his wheel pops off a skateboard, and he falls down some stairs and gets guns pointed at him by the members of the legitimate businessmen's social club, the mobsters.
We get introduced to Fat Tony properly now.
Fat Tony, such a good character.
I love his cousin. Is later on, but it's such a good episode. As you're saying, in the newer seasons that actually worked, of his cousin Fit Tony, who ends up,
Victor,
who
yeah.
takes over and just keeps eating and becomes a new Fat Tony. I'm like, perfect. Mwah.
Yeah.
Such a good way to do that.
Fat Tony, and as well as his two main cronies, Legs and Louie. Was it Legs and Louie? Yeah, it was Legs and Louie. Are some of the best characters. Yeah. But then obviously, like, as it goes down the line, we get introduced to more. One of the best being Tight Lips Johnny.
Yes.
Or Johnny Tight Lips, sorry. So where'd they get you? I ain't saying nothing. What do I tell the doctor? Tell him to suck a lemon.
He's so good. I like the fact that one time that he's seen as the betrayer and he's in a boot and it's like, you gotta just tell us what happened so we can let you out. I ain't saying nothing. And you're like, oh,
I ain't saying
okay,
nothing.
cool.
Come on, Johnny Tight Lips.
Yeah.
But no. So, they don't kill Bart. They end up just sort of introducing him to the place where they operate, and it's like, yeah, over there's the bar, it's the pool table and the card table, and
make us a
drink. Hey, pick a dog for us and make us drinks. And then they just hire him as a bartender, and Bart's like, yeah, I've got a job. I'm just serving drinks, and if anyone was to turn around and go, that's illegal, he's underage. There's a lot going wrong in this place.
Yeah, I think it's mad that that's not even questioned. They're just like, oh, maybe you shouldn't work there. It's like, he's 10 serving alcohol, mate. Like,
the best was Homer's response was, how much do you make? 30 bucks, $30 a week, including tips. Yeah. And he's like, I get more than that.
Yeah.
Of course you do, Homer.
Yes. But good.
And they're fucking digging ice cream.
Yeah, it's like, good for you getting one over on your 10-year-old son. Good guy, Homer. But what I like about this episode is the progression of it is so good. Because it goes like this, things are going well, he gets his wee suit, and he's like, hey ma, look at my suit. And then he tries to bribe Principal Skinner, which makes him late for a big mob meeting because they need to taste this boy's martinis. Fat Tony gets a Manhattan sword.
Not martinis, Manhattan.
Sorry.
Get it right.
Apologies. Which causes the other mob boss to give him the kiss of death. And he's like, oh, for fuck's sake, shows up late. And Fat Tony go to kill Principal Skinner.
They go to question him.
Oh, we don't know that yet.
We don't know that. So, well, we don't know anything. They just go to see Principal Skinner, and then the next day it turns out Skinner's missing.
He turns up missing.
Oh, he doesn't turn up.
He turns up missing.
Turns up missing.
Yeah, it's like that scary movie thing. How can you go to your bed alive and wake up dead?
Yeah. So yeah, Skinner's missing, and Bart's like, oh no, the mobsters have killed him. And he starts having all this, like, you know, these horrible thoughts about him being responsible because he mentioned Skinner. The mobsters get questioned, and they're like, it was all Bart. Bart did it.
He's the ringleader.
They blame this 10-year-old.
I like their chart of, like, he had these fingers and everything.
He's the head of the syndicate.
Yeah. And we find out what happened to Skinner. He got trapped under a pile of newspapers, and
which I want to question a little bit.
Like, cool, but like, you can get newspaper. Neither here nor there. He used a bottle rocket thing, and he gets himself out. And Tony's like, "Yeah, no hard feelings. Do I still work for us?" And he's like, "No, like, no,
absolutely not."
I like how he goes, "Crime doesn't pay," as they drive away their limos. I'm like,
they all get driven away in separate limos. Yeah.
One of the when you go.
Go on.
No, you go.
No, go on.
You go.
Oh, are we gonna do this all day?
Yes, we are. Go.
Right. So I don't know how much I buy Skinner's escape from under. I don't know how much I question him. A, getting trapped under a pile of newspapers, and B, his escape.
I would love you to be sitting with a whiteboard behind you right now, because I know you studied physics at university, and just this giant chart of numbers of like impossible.
Yes. What you didn't see is I watched the episodes the other day, and just on my desk were just papers everywhere, and me just with my head in my hands, just like, what does it all mean?
Oh my god, that should have been your dissertation. You hand your dissertation.
It was, except instead of papers, it was a laptop.
You're like, hi university. So what is your doing your dissertation? What new thing can you bring to science? Skinner did the impossible, and I will solve it. And you do.
Oh, I thought, yeah. So as you can see, with the force of a Hoover.
It's just a Hoover cord pulling in. It's so
Yeah,
good, right?
but that wouldn't pull up his weight.
I like how in this episode where Bart gets framed for murder by the mobs, that our concern is how the hell did a Hoover hold Skinner?
That's fine. That doesn't matter.
One of my favourite moments in this, absolute favourite, is when Homer catches him with all the cigarettes in his thing, like, and Homer's first response is, "Bart, are you smoking?" Like, Ida, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
All of these. All of
And then
these.
he actually goes, "I'm going to make you smoke all of them." I'm like, oh, Homer. That was peak idiot Homer. I was like, love it. Great moment.
But I love the quick cutaway from that. It's like, there's a truck been stolen, and Fat Tony's just like, "What's a truck? We didn't steal it." And then it just immediately cuts to Bart's room filled with cigarettes,
So good.
and you're just like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, Fat Tony's interaction with Wiggum is great because this is like, yeah, what's a gun? What's a truck?
What's a truck?
I don't know, mob. Yeah.
And this is where we get introduced to their corrupt card playing as well. How at one point one's got 4 aces, one's got 5 aces, the other's got 6 aces.
And Homer wins with a pair of sixes.
Yep.
Because they really want Bart to stay working there. So,
Exactly.
Bart the Murderer is, in this wee run, I think this is the one I had the most fun in. I really enjoyed this episode. It was such a nice homage to Goodfellas. And I was giggling the whole way through. It's like, in this bit, this has been my favourite episode thus far of this season. Maybe it's up there as one of my favourites that we've watched so far, as we'll get into it, because I'm like, it's peak Simpsons comedy. It's when Simpsons did really good comedy writing. Like, that was a funny episode. And it wasn't just like belly laughing the whole way, it was just witty and clever. As you said, that cutaway scene.
Yeah.
It was just such a nice wee moment. You don't laugh at that, but you're just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, obviously, we've got Joe Montana as Fat Tony's been brought in for the first time. Brilliant. Which was obviously mentioned in... so at the scene at the end where they're making the movie about Bart capturing Skinner.
Yes.
And they list all like the actors in that. They list Joe Montana as Fat Tony, which is good because he actually is. And then it was Neil Patrick Harris as Bart.
I never remembered that. I was like, oh fuck, it's Doogie Howser. That's so good.
Funny.
So good.
Yeah, so that was really good. Simpsons this season, they tend to get a lot of guest stars in, which is great. But we have yet to see some of the good ones.
But that's the thing. This is when they do it right, where a bunch of the guest stars come in not as, hi, I'm Mel Gibson, because that was one of the big ones. When Mel Gibson came in as Mel Gibson, and they played it well. They did really well. But quite a lot of the times they don't have them as their named characters. They have like these extra. No. The best people that have done that, in my opinion, is South Park, because they don't give two fucks. So like George Clooney was a cat for like 2 seasons. Like they made him meow before they gave him a role as George Clooney in the movie. Because they're like, you know, you're not getting on just because you're George Clooney. And George Clooney was well up for it as well. So you have a cat that just goes, meow. It's George Clooney. I'm like, that's fucking gold.
Nice.
Swiftly moving on. We're not here to talk about South Park.
So talking of Homer being an idiot, we get to Homer Defined, where he saves the power plant. He saves the entire town from a nuclear meltdown by using eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yes. And it works. So was he an idiot or was he just a savant?
No, it was just, as is described at the end, he's just lucky. Yeah. He's just very, very lucky.
And nothing wrong with that. Wish I had that kind of luck.
No. Yeah, if it works for you,
the thing,
good for you.
The thing with this episode that I like, there's not as many talking points in this episode for me. It's just a lot of Homer being a more real person, because instead of riding a high horse, he's actually really insular about everything. He's like, I didn't mean to do this. Like, I know I'm gonna get caught out. Like, this is an accident, and everybody's treating me like a hero. I'm not a hero. And it was a lovely time to see that. Like, you never see that. You usually see them, they ride the wave, and they become the big kahuna, and then they have to fall. This one, he never goes up the wave. He just stays at this bit of, like, he kind of tries to get confident, and it doesn't work because he knows it's a lie, and then gets caught out. He doesn't even get caught out. I wouldn't even say he got caught out. He saved the plant twice. he saved it again.
Yeah.
And he goes back to his normal life, thankfully. But yeah, that was an odd one where it was a good episode, but I don't have huge opinions on it.
No, it's a lot of like, again, it's the side story as well of Milhouse's mum not letting
Yes, forgot.
Milhouse see Bart. There's probably more to talk about in there.
Yes.
Like Homer being an idiot and being very lucky that describes so much of what happens. It describes him as a character, which is good because obviously episode's called Homer Defined.
Yeah.
Funny old thing that. So yeah, just to have that the definition at the end of succeeding despite idiocy or something to that effect. I can't remember its exact one. Yeah, that's Homer to a T.
Yes.
But then obviously we've got the side story, which is totally relatable and comes back. So your friend's mum won't let you spend time with them because apparently you're a bad influence.
Yep.
Did you ever have that?
Me? No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I was good guy Chris. Everybody wanted to be my friend.
Yeah.
Do you know, the only reason people let me hang about with their kids when I was a kid, not now, like, let's clear that up, because I said that in a really odd way.
You're hanging about with people's kids.
Really odd way, right? When I was a wee, there was, the people I hung about with weren't nice. They weren't like cool people. But I would hang about with some cool people as well. And what it was I'd always walk them home. And every time I'd done that, they would let them stay out later. They would let them hang about because they went, well, Chris will walk you home. And it was everybody. I'd walk everybody home because my mum trusted me. And I was twice the size of everybody at that age. So it was like, you're going to be kind of okay. So, yeah, I was good guy Chris. Everybody liked because I walked them home. So if you want people to like you, walk them home.
Yeah. But don't just walk up to random strangers in the middle of the night and say, "Can I walk you home?"
No. Keep that shit to yourself. If you think like that, don't
do that. Walk your friends home.
Yes.
Walk your relatives home, but don't just walk up to randos in the street and just extend yourself and walk you home. What about you? You?
Or if you see a stray
or offer
dog,
it as a service for a small cost.
Oh, that's something different. If you see a stray dog, you offer the dog to walk you home, and then you have a free dog.
Yes, I'm on it right now.
See the amount of times I've seen stray dogs. I keep going, you look really nice. I think Kenny would be a good friend for you. Should I bring you home? And I'm like, if I brought a dog home, Donna might kick me out and just keep the dog. Like, can't feed another mouth, so you oot.
Yep. We have a fox.
Nice.
A fox has visited our back garden a couple times recently. So that's fun. We're looking to get rabbits soon, and people keep saying, "Oh, why don't you have? We want to get an indoor rabbit." People keep saying, "Why don't you get an outdoor rabbit?" That's why. That's why we don't get an outdoor rabbit.
Yeah, it's funny in cartoons to see that. It's not funny in real life.
No,
that is
not at all.
That is some monster, murder porn looking motherfucking things right there. That is some bad stuff. We have been getting hedgehogs, right? I know we're off topic of Simpsons, but I'm into this conversation. We have been getting hedgehogs lately, and I said to Donna's nana about, we've been getting this hedgehog. He's visited a few times. She was like, can we get him? I'm like, what? It's like, they eat the slugs in your garden.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like, no, we'll keep the fucking hedgehog in if he eats slugs, because we are plagued with slugs. And we'll find some frogs. And there was a deer out our back garden a couple of days ago.
Cool.
We had a wee deer, and I'm like, what is happening here? Am I Snow
I'm not
White?
a Disney princess.
Yes. Oh my god, I just felt like running about the fields, like yay! And Kenny was scared of it because Kenny's
with your long luscious hair.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. So we're creating this kind of almost wildlife sanctuary of our back garden. We don't know why. We don't know why they're drawn to us. Maybe I am a Disney princess. They hear me singing every morning, down with the sickness, and they're like, yeah.
Wow.
They're like into that.
And the deer's just like, what beautiful songs.
I couldn't think of a more horrible sight than just a bunch of birds changing me, or like deers and all that. It's like Homer getting changed in the movie. That's what my fantasy is now, of just them doing that and be like, oh dear God, no.
Yeah. Oh no, they get horrified by Homer and Marge
Yeah.
making
Oh,
sweet time together.
yeah. It's a natural
But no,
process.
Homer Defined is another. It's a blowaway episode. We've got a couple other guest stars as well. John Lovitz comes back, the guy who voiced Artie Ziff and
Yes.
the the art manager person comes back.
Who is he in
John
this?
Lovitz, he is the owner of the Shelby
Oh,
Film
yeah,
Nuclear
yeah,
Plant,
yeah.
but he puts on a bit of an accent.
Eh,
And we have Magic Johnson,
yes, he's in it. Oh, I love Magic Johnson.
which is great.
Yeah. The thing I did like about this episode, and I'm glad you did bring it up with the side story, is this shows you how good a person Marge is and how much she does actually love her son, because she acknowledges that Bart is bad. We don't know why, but I'm not apologising for it either, but I'm not condoning it. I'm just stating the fact that Bart's got an issue. And I like the way she put it. Bart's got a spark that makes him do bad things, but he's not a bad person. And it was just the way, it was just so lovely. Because I like how they just dropped that and they started hanging about again. Because she was like, they only have each other and they're prime candidates for bullies, to get bullied. And they kind of need each other. And I thought it was lovely. And it was a lovely way of doing it, of like parents actually being, because even Louise Van Houten was reasonable, because you expect her to be like, Bart's a prick. No, but she wasn't. She was like, it's just when Bart's with Milhouse, it gets into more trouble. And it was just that scene of Milhouse on the goddamn seesaw by his lonesome. You're just like, oh mate,
That's sad.
yeah. So good for them to get rekindled, because they need each other. Actually, that's a relationship that actually needs each other.
Yeah. This is long before the time where everything came up Millhouse.
Yeah. And it's long before the time before they had the gang, because it started growing. Do you know who I miss? Remember the two boys that got caught spray painting with them?
Lewis and the other one.
Yeah, I like that wee gang of kids. I like, what happened to the other two, man? They really dropped other characters a bit. Is it this?
Lewis comes back quite a bit. Like, they get seen in the background, but they're just not as prominent.
Do you know what else? We're not going to talk about this episode, but I just need to bring it up because it blew me away. Ralph Wiggum's voice in the Pony episode. He's like, yeah, what man could tame her heart? And I'm like, who the fuck is Ralph? Like, Ralph is suave as fuck. I'm like, what happened to that boy?
Yeah.
But we'll get way more into that. I had to bring it up.
Yeah, that's getting a bit ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
But we'll get to that one next week.
Yes.
First, we need to talk about Like Father, Like Clown.
Yes, Like Father, Like Clown. I did not realise this episode was so early on. I honestly thought this was like season 7, 6 and 7.
Wow. No, yeah, I knew it was a lot earlier. But a lot of stuff just sort of blends for me. I don't know why I did the John Cena can't see me thing.
Yeah. So, with this one, Krusty keeps putting off having dinner with Bart because Krusty's an arsehole. And then we realise how old Krusty is as well. Like, Krusty's like in his 60s, if you work out the aging. Because he's not seen his dad in 45 years.
25
no,
years,
it was 45.
Oh, do we need to stop this again? It was 25 years, Chris.
Donna was sitting with me. It was 45 years.
As Donna said in the chat.
No, she's away at her nan's. Okay, for next week, we will figure it out for next week.
The research.
We'll research this, and if Michael's wrong, I will be shaving off his eyelashes.
No, you won't.
Oh, you can't stop me. I know where you live.
You can't. How do you shave someone's eyelashes? Do you mean brow?
No. I mean, your eyelashes, they'll be gone. Nothing will
You're not getting near my eyelashes with a razor.
Nothing will stop the sweat going into your eyes ever again. You'll just be like, ah.
God, you take such a passionate stance on these things about being right, don't you?
No.
Do you remember what happened the last time when you were like, he liked him, and you got all fucking uppity and you were just like, I'm right, and then you were wrong.
I don't even know what we were talking about with
I
that
don't
anymore.
With the fucking Marge's dad didn't like Homer.
Oh yeah,
you were so confident to the point where you came across as such an asshole.
Me being an asshole? No.
So you know what? I don't care if it's 45 years. It could very well be. I thought he said 25 years. I'm probably wrong because it makes more sense to be 45 years. However, I'm not. I'm not gonna be like, it was just 25 years. It was 25 years. I'm right because I'm Chris.
Well, you just did though.
Like, no, I'm not.
But you just did.
Anyway,
He meets his dad after 45 years of not seeing him. I'm so sorry. Anyway,
that's very much the end of the episode.
they're only 20 minutes long. You can do the end first.
Shut up, fuck's sake, Chris.
To be fair,
right?
I've not done it on this one yet of talking of the end first. Like I've done it every other thing.
So Krusty goes round, reveals that he's Jewish, and then reveals that he's been estranged from his father because he chose the life of being a clown. The rest of the episode is Bart and Lisa doing what they do and teaming up to try and help Krusty for some reason, even though he keeps forgetting about them, especially Bart, because he's a massive asshole.
Yes.
They do eventually try and, they talk to him a lot, and they eventually get him to rekindle his relationship with his son, and that's it.
I love the quote they uses to get them together, because the whole point of their back and forward is to use ancient proverbs to try and push them together, and he's just too clever.
Yeah,
he's too good a rabbi of that kind of philosophical conversations to be able to trick him, and they use an entertainer. Just like, Jews are cool guys. They went through a lot, and yet look at them, they're winning. We're still here. And he's like, oh, that's a really good way. But who said that? And he's like, can't remember who it was, but he's like a Jewish entertainer, and then his eyes are opened.
Sammy Adams,
yes.
I think it was.
The thing that really annoyed me with this episode is when Krusty gets caught, everyone's having a good time. It's okay to have them up there and laugh and have them entertain you, as long as it's not your son. And I've always hated that attitude to things of like, you have to go in with my footsteps because it's a more honourable path instead of letting someone find their own way. Because imagine what Krusty would have been like if he had his dad's support. It might not be this shell of a man. Secondly, Krusty's illiterate, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went to quite a prominent Jewish schooling by his rabbi father. How is he illiterate?
He's illiterate in English.
But they would have learnt English. They would have done English classes, maybe.
Not necessarily.
So he's come.
He could speak and read Hebrew,
but he can't speak English.
If he was raised like so strictly in Judaism, he could have just only read and wrote. He could speak English, but he could probably only read and write Hebrew.
Maybe that actually makes sense. Like he's like a full-on Orthodox Jew of like, and that's why his dad's so pissed off at him. Like with the Krusty Burger, that's like all the meats that they're not meant to eat. Because he goes and gets it, and it's a burger named after him. And it's got like sausage, ham, bacon, and he's like, no. And he gets really annoyed and walks away as he comes in thinking he's going to meet the French president.
Yeah.
It's invited like a deli, in the middle of Springfield. Yeah, it's French president.
I mean, it's the only place you're going to get a Jewish man to go, and also Krusty would go anywhere.
Yes, it's so stupid. I like his dad. I actually really like his dad. Even though I think he's too rigid on things. I think he's quite a wise man. Like, he's portrayed really well. And I like that. I know it's a bit of a stereotype, but see that kind of Jewishness that he is. Like, when he answers the phone, he's like, why would you phone me if you're not going to speak to me? See that kind of rhythm of his speaking? It's like singing. It's the way I really enjoy certain parts of African accents. Because they have this rhythm when they talk that's almost like singing, and it's just brilliant to listen to. It's the same with this kind of level of, like, kind of that New York Jewish kind of sounding.
I believe it's called Yiddish.
Yes, it's Yiddish.
I don't know if that's a particular, like, I don't know if Yiddish is just the, Yiddish is the language. But I didn't know if, like, Yiddish was also like the
way they speak,
like the way of speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, the I don't even know how. What's the word for that again? The way of speaking, how you speak, how you talk. I I don't know, just the way they converse, the way Jewish people converse and stuff like that, and their mannerisms in
Yeah.
talking is just brilliant. And this was a Jewish comedian that was voicing him,
Cool.
who did a fantastic
Yeah.
job, Jackie Mason.
Oh, I know that name.
Um, yeah, he was fantastic. He's done lots of stuff, um, but just brilliantly portrayed. And again, a really good story of like, you know, Krusty. Krusty was told by his dad no repeatedly. He was told no, don't be a clown. You have to be a rabbi, or you have to be something. Not even to be a rabbi. You have to be something more professional,
Yes.
something that's not going to be ridiculed. But Krusty was like, "Well, I want to be a clown,"
Mm-hmm.
and he kept doing it, and he kept doing it, and he kept doing it, and it wasn't. He didn't get locked up in a. He didn't get locked up in his room until he was told to come out and be something good or something better. He kept doing it, and eventually, just he became a
Yeah.
clown.
I think he left as like a teenager and everything. He just up and left and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I think we could all relate to that of like expectations when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents had for what they think we should be to
Mm-hmm.
who we are. Like
Yeah.
like I had so many aspirations of being a soldier when I was younger. Like that was my whole dream.
Yeah.
My family didn't want that. They didn't want me
Mm-hmm.
running about with guns.
Yeah.
Where things have changed and things went the other way, but there's always that rebellious stage. And see, from going through it,
Mm-hmm.
I think like you'd have probably went through yourself of like wherever you end up now compared to what your parents maybe have thought you were going to be. It
Yeah.
makes me such a more understanding person to what the wee one might want to do, where
Yeah.
there is pushing, but there's not a box. You like to
Yeah.
keep pushing them, but without putting a border up of what they want. You know,
Yeah.
so it was
I've
quite interesting.
yeah, I've sort of realized now that like my parents didn't really care what I did, and that was better. They just
No,
preferred like if I knew what I wanted to do and I was happy with what I wanted to do. I don't think I still know what I want to do.
no.
I really don't care. So long as I'm happy at the end of the day is the main thing for me.
Exactly, and I like that because that's a nice wee sentiment to end on. Because there's a lot of this is about happiness. This episode, it's about being happy with who you are and rekindling
Yes.
family connections because you're happy. I came across something recently, and
I don't know about family connections, but
well,
happiness. Well, it is for the
as for
episode.
the episode,
But
for the episode, right?
yeah,
Because I came across an interesting thing, and it's about conversations with people that you've not seen in a long time. You
yeah,
meet up with them, say it's a party, it's a reunion, whatever it is, and you bump into somebody you've not seen them in 5 to 10 years. This is
yeah,
a run of conversation normally. How you been? Then blah blah. Then it's, oh, are you married? Okay. Then it's, oh, where you living? Have you got a nice house? Mm-hmm. Oh, what you working as? Not once in that conversation is, how happy are you, man? How you doing? Like, not like just how are you? It's like, how you living? Like, how's your life going? Because
yeah,
there's that checklist, and it's the same with Krusty's father. It's that checklist is what matters the most outside
yeah,
of that internal thing where how you feel there, that kind of level of joy. Money doesn't become a thing. A money is just a means to get by. It's not
yeah,
the goal, the chase.
yeah. And I think in these sort of conversations, I think asking the whole how happy are you or how have you been living? I know obviously there's different ways to phrase
Yeah,
it, but it can come across as very
yeah,
direct. So it's difficult to get
hmm
the right level of tact
yeah,
to ask. And it's also making sure that like, some people might not be very comfortable to have that openly asked to them, especially like either at a party or just
yeah.
just in general. So I think it's just about like gauging that through the
Yeah.
questions that you do ask.
For sure. No, for sure. There is give and take. That's what conversations are about. That's what dialogues are.
Exactly.
It's just that
Exactly.
because I just got really sick of people asking the same four questions about what you've been doing. And it's like, does
Yeah.
it matter, man? Does it actually matter what I've been doing?
Well, so one of the guys I used to work with, um, it immediately grated on you after like the first couple of times. But the question he would just often ask people, like almost the first question would be, "How's your penis?" Which is just such a break from the norm.
Yeah,
The first time you hear it, you're like, fine.
yeah.
The second time you answer it and you give a response that you would deem a bit different, and you
Try and be funny.
yeah, you try and be funny, but then after that, you're just like, I don't know how I feel about this
Yeah,
anymore.
could you stop asking me this?
Yeah. So at first it's fine.
Yeah.
But I get that whole like the break in normality, the break to that is all quite good.
It's a one-time thing. It's like, see if you're chatting to someone and you're trying to find out how they actually feel. You ask it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the next time you see them, you don't bring that conversation up again, because it's the idea. It's a deep conversation. You're trying to actually get them to open up a wee bit. It's a one-time thing, and
Yeah.
we didn't get to see that in this episode because we know we've just strayed way off. But it was nice to see them rekindle, because they rekindled very quickly.
Absolutely.
It's a problem with The Simpsons for me, is they have a build-up, and then the actual climax of the episode is about 3 minutes
short,
long.
yeah.
You're like, could we not have like a 2-second conversation of them, not just them singing a song at each other?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it's a sitcom.
Yeah, well, we can't even nitpick like that. So that was our first 5 episodes of season 3.
Yes.
We did well. What was your favourite?
What was my favourite? I don't know. I think it is between Bart the Murderer and Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington. I think because Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington just takes you immediately, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
You're into some good funny stuff and some quite serious stuff as well. But obviously Bart the Murderer introduces a lot, and it's very funny.
Yes.
How about yourself?
It would be Bart the Murderer. I think that it hits that level of Simpsons comedy that I love. I didn't realise how much I loved the drama till as an adult, but I'm not looking at Bart the Murderer as an adult. I'm looking at it as a wee boy imagining what the gangsters were, and it fills me a wee bit of joy. It's fun. It's fun times.
Yes.
So
next week, I reckon we look at... So we're not, as I say, once again, we're not looking at Treehouse of Horror. So Treehouse of Horror 2 is out of the question. Despite it's actually a really good one. They're all good ones. I don't think Treehouse of Horror really has a bad episode.
No.
I think that's where they put most of their work into, actually.
I think, see, having small stories like that, you're allowed to go nuts. And it makes sense, because the problem with Simpsons' newer ones, they go nuts within the normal episode, which don't make sense to the world that they're in, because the world has a slight realism to it. It's not much, but it's just enough there to kind of keep you. Yeah.
So I think for next week, we should watch the next 6 episodes. Yep. So we're going Lisa's Pony, Saturdays of Thunder, Flaming Moe's, Flaming Moe's is a very important one.
That's a good one.
Burns Verkoffen, Der Kraftwerk, I Married Marge, and Radio Bart.
Oh, the whale. Oh my God.
Which I actually heard another story about a child getting trapped in a well, but this wasn't and it was on, so it's on a podcast called My Favorite Murder, the one that CJ listens to. It's about a child getting trapped in a well, but this isn't a 10-year-old child. That was an 18-month-year-old child.
No, did they grow up to be Batman?
She was down there for like 50 something or 30 something. I don't know. Less than 2 days, I think.
Wow, that is mad.
Yeah, she was down there for. But at one point, they heard her singing Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my God. Yeah. So instead of having Batman, you have Pooh Girl. It's just her dressed up as Winnie the Pooh. Right?
Yeah, let's not market that one. Pooh Girl.
Just throwing Tigger's tails at people instead of throwing stars.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that'll be for next week.
Yes.
It's been good. I'm enjoying season 3. I'm looking forward to the rest of what it brings us. But in the meantime, it's always a pleasure, and we're always the worst.
Till next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.